The sixth leadership failure we have is the promise breakers that Saul did. We see that Saul breaks a lot of promises. When David killed Goliath, Saul said, whoever kills Goliath, he's going to give his daughter as a wife, and his family won't have to pay taxes. Now, we don't know what happened with the family side of it, but he did not give his wife to him. And then Saul said, well, if you go and kill these Philistines, then I'll give the wife. And he broke that promise again. He broke his promise to Jonathan, his own son, that he wasn't going to kill David. He told him it wasn't going to happen, but he promised it. He broke his promise to the Gibeonites not to kill the Gibeonites, and he ended up killing them as well. And that ultimately ended up becoming a problem during David's reign. Sometimes our broken promises, sometimes our bad leadership and our bad failures can have long-lasting implications that doesn't just happen within our area of leadership, but it also happens in future ones as well. Good leaders keep their word. Sometimes we make promises not recognizing and understanding kind of what's happening around. So we don't intentionally break the promises, but we still see it nevertheless. The first George Bush accepted the nomination for president. He said the very famous lines, "Read my lips, no new taxes." 2 years later, he had to do taxes. I think it was on the cover of the New York Post or the New York Times, but one of the newspapers in New York City said, "Read my lips, I lied." And ultimately, when the next election came, he had two people run against him, an independent as well as Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton ultimately won. But that was a huge piece of their campaign, was "Read my lips, no new taxes." And they portrayed him as a liar, and from that, they portrayed him as a bad leader because he broke his promise. This is a little bit different than a lie. A lie is when I know the facts ahead of time, or that I was trying to kind of deceive you with it. With a promise breaker is when I have every intention to do something and it doesn't happen from there. There are other people that broke their promises as well. Herbert Hoover promised that there was going to be a chicken in every pot and a car in every backyard. He just promised this amazing economy, and then the stock market crashed, and we ended up into the Great Depression after that. We see Johnson promised to get us out of the war, and he ended up not only sent more people to war, and ended up saying, "I'm not going to run again," because his popularity was so bad based off of the broken promises. We see many of these throughout history, and now in more recent years, we actually there's companies out there that look at presidents and their broken promises. We see that both President Obama and President Trump, according to their promises that they made in their campaigns, only kept about half of their promises. Obama was 48, and I can't remember what percent Trump was. His was like 47 or 49. It was somewhere really close to that, and that doesn't count the percent that compromises were made on those promises. And in both those situations, the campaign promises, there was only a quarter made, but we also see that people are growing more and more distrustful of the president because they see them as just making these statements and breaking these promises.